Somewhere far back, before names turned into legends and songs became scripture, there was just a boy out in the hills. Not famous, not royal, just watching sheep. Sun on his face, stones beneath his sandals. Time passed slow out there. The kind of slow that lets you think. He had a sling, sure, but mostly, he had space. And quiet. And he sang. Not because anyone was listening, but because something deep inside needed to. The kind of singing that happens when your world is mostly sky, dust, and stars. His name was David. He didn't come looking for a crown. He wasn't chasing power. But life has a strange way of finding those who aren't trying to be found. This is where it all begins. Right here, before the battles, before the palace, before the weight of the world sat on his shoulders. Just a kid in the fields, humming under his breath, trusting in something bigger than himself. So settle in. Let your breath slow down. Let the noise fall away. And walk with me a while, through old stories and open skies. This is David. The sun beat down over the valley of Elah, scorching the dust beneath thousands of boots. Soldiers lined the ridges, on one side, the armored men of Israel, their banners limp in the still air, their faces grim. On the other, the Philistines, bold, loud, confident, their weapons flashing in the light. For 40 days, a shadow had loomed over the camp of Israel. Not a figure of speech, no, a literal shadow, 9 feet tall and clad in bronze from head to toe. Goliath. Send me a man, he bellowed each morning, his voice cracking across the valley like thunder. One man. Let him fight me. If he wins, we will serve you. But if I strike him down, he laughed, a low, guttural rumble that turned blood to ice, you will serve us. And every time, not a soul in Israel moved. King Saul stood among his captains, teeth clenched behind his beard. He, the tallest of the Israelites, should have been the one to step forward. But Goliath was not a man. He was a monster. Meanwhile, in the quiet hills of Bethlehem, far from the clamor of war, a shepherd hummed to himself beneath the shade of an olive tree. His name was David, young, ruddy-faced, eyes like firelight. His hands were calloused from tending sheep, but quick and sure. His heart. Oh, his heart beat with songs of God, of promise, of courage. He had no sword, no shield, only a sling and a spirit that would not bend. Jesse, his father, called him early one morning. David, come. Take this grain, this bread, and these 10 cheeses to your brothers at the front. See how they are. And bring me word. David's heart leapt. The battlefield. The stories. The chance to see his brothers, Eliab, Abinadab, Shammah, all warriors. Yes, father, he said, excitement bubbling in his chest. He set off at dawn, feet kicking up dust, songs rising from his lips. The valley came into view just as the morning cry echoed again, Goliath's voice, booming and cruel. David stopped in his tracks. He squinted toward the sound. A figure moved at the center of the Philistine line, huge, gleaming with bronze, his spear like a weaver's beam. The Israelites, once proud, shrank back. David's heart pounded, not in fear, but in disbelief. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine? He murmured, voice sharp. That he defies the armies of the living God. He rushed toward the camp, the bread nearly forgotten. He found Eliab and the others among the trembling men. Eliab, he cried, panting. What is this? Why does no one answer him? Eliab turned, scowling. Why are you here? Did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness to come see blood? David blinked, stung. I was sent. I brought food. But this man, Goliath, why has no one fought him? You are a child, Eliab snapped. go back to your sheep." But others had heard David's words. The courage in his voice passed from ear to ear like a spark in dry grass. And soon, the murmur reached Saul. "What is this I hear?" the king asked, pacing his tent. "A boy who speaks of fighting the giant." They brought David before him. Saul looked down, eyebrows raised. This was the one. "You cannot fight him," Saul said gently. "You are but a youth." David raised his chin, defiant. "Your servant has killed lion and bear. When they came for the flock, I struck them down. And this Philistine shall be like one of them, for he has defied the armies of the living God." Saul stared into the boy's eyes, and something stirred. Faith? Hope? Or was it desperation? "Go," he whispered. "And the Lord be with you." They tried to dress David in armor. Bronze breastplate, heavy helmet, Saul's own sword. But David staggered, weighed down. "I cannot go in these," he said, almost laughing. "I have not tested them." Instead, he took only his staff, his sling, and 5 smooth stones from the brook. As he walked toward the valley floor, time seemed to slow. Soldiers fell silent. Even the wind held its breath. And Goliath laughed. "Am I a dog," he roared, "that you come to me with sticks?" David kept walking, eyes steady. He looked so small, but he did not shake. "You come to me with sword, spear, and javelin," David called, voice rising like a trumpet, "but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." Goliath growled, stepping forward. David ran. He ran. He pulled a stone from his pouch, set it in his sling, and with a practiced motion, let it fly. Thud. Silence. The giant stumbled and fell. Flat. Dead. Gasps rippled through the crowd like waves. Philistine mouths hung open. Israelite eyes widened. And then, a roar. A great, swelling, joyful roar. The kind that shakes bones and breaks fear. David stood still, chest heaving. In his hands, the sling hung loose. He had no sword, but he ran to Goliath, took the giant's own blade, and cut off his head. It was done. A shepherd had slain a warrior. A boy had silenced a giant. And Israel, oh, Israel, believed again. The silence did not last long. Once Goliath's head hit the earth and David lifted it high, a cry broke from the Israelite ranks, a cry raw and thunderous. It began with one man, then another, until the entire hillside trembled with their voices. "He's down. Goliath is down." A roar of triumph rose to the heavens. Men who had trembled moments before now surged forward, emboldened. They charged like water released from a dam, sweeping toward the Philistines with vengeance in their eyes. And the Philistines, once so certain, so loud, fled. Their laughter had died with their champion. David stood in the chaos, blood soaking his tunic, sweat on his brow, the giant's sword still in his hands. He barely breathed. It was over. But it had only just begun. The army pursued the Philistines to the gates of Ekron and the road to Gath. The fields were littered with weapons, shields abandoned, sandals forgotten in the rush to escape. Israel shouted, wept, laughed, and sang. When they returned, David came with them, still holding Goliath's severed head. It was grotesque, yes, but symbolic. Proof. The nightmare had fallen, and a shepherd had delivered them. Saul watched from his pavilion. His face was unreadable. "Whose son is this youth?" he asked quietly. His commander, Abner, blinked. "My king. I do not know." "Bring him to me," Saul said, rising. David approached, breath shallow but steady, eyes fixed on the king. The weight of the moment pressed in. Saul's armor still gleamed. His height was still impressive. But something had shifted. It was no longer his presence that held the power. It was the voice. "Whose son are you?" Saul asked. David's voice was calm. "I am the son of your servant Jesse the Bethlehemite." A hush fell. Saul nodded, slowly. But behind his eyes, a flicker. A doubt. A fear, perhaps, buried deep. Beside the king stood his son, Jonathan, sword on his hip, his face flushed from the battle. He stared at David with wonder, then with something more. Admiration. Recognition. A soul seeing another soul. As the servants led David away to be cleaned and honored, Jonathan followed. He caught up with him, breathless. "You," he began, then paused, shaking his head. "You fear nothing." David offered a half smile. "I fear plenty. But not Goliath." Jonathan laughed, a light, honest laugh. "You are unlike any man I've known." They walked in silence for a moment, dust beneath their feet, the stench of battle still clinging to the air. "You are my brother now," Jonathan said finally. "Heart and soul." David turned, eyes shining. "Then I am yours." And right there, Jonathan took off his robe and gave it to David. His tunic, his sword, his bow, even his belt. Symbols of love, of loyalty, of recognition. He gave all to David, as if to say, "You are the future. Not I." And David, though humbled, felt something shift inside. The road before him was no longer quiet. It would not be lined with sheep and streams. It would be paved with swords and jealousy, crowns and betrayal, songs and sorrows. Saul kept him close after that. Too close. At first, it seemed like favor. David went where the king sent him, missions, battles, counsels. And he succeeded at everything. The people began to sing of him. Saul has slain his thousands. But David his tens of thousands. Oh, there it was. That song. When Saul first heard it, his hand froze mid-motion. The harpist strummed awkwardly in the corner, eyes cast down. Servants went still. The king's face tightened. "David, his tens of thousands," he murmured. "They sing his name." His jealousy cracked open like a fissure. From that day forward, Saul watched David. Not with pride. Not with admiration. But with suspicion. And behind suspicion, a slow-growing madness. David could feel it. The warmth in Saul's eyes could. The invitations to the palace became more like summons. He was offered riches, but never freedom. He was praised in front of others, but questioned in private. Still, he remained loyal. He played music to calm Saul's dark moods. His fingers danced over the strings of the lyre while the king stared into the flames, eyes distant, lips moving silently. Some nights it helped. Others. David flinched. A spear thudded into the wall behind him. Breath caught in his chest. Saul blinked, hands still outstretched. "Oh, I missed." David bowed slowly and left the room. The days grew darker. Each victory David brought seemed only to fan Saul's rage. He was sent on missions too dangerous, yet returned alive. He was given impossible tasks: "Bring me 100 Philistine foreskins." Saul sneered once, and came back with twice as many. It became clear, Saul did not want David to serve. He wanted him to die. But David would not die. And the people saw it. They loved him. And that made Saul afraid. The nights in the palace grew quieter, colder. David, once the favored hero, now moved like a man walking on glass. He slept with one eye open. He played his harp with calm fingers while Saul sat behind him, his breathing ragged, fingers tapping, tapping. And always, the spear. Twice now, Saul had hurled it at him. Twice, David had dodged just in time. The third time, he didn't wait. He ran. Out of the chamber, down the corridor, cloak flapping behind him, heart in his throat. He fled through the night to his home, his mind racing. Michal. His wife. Saul's daughter. The one whose eyes had softened when he stood before her father, still breathless from battle. She had loved him once with a girl's fire, and she loved him still. David burst into their chamber, breathless. He means to kill me. Michal's face paled, her hands trembling. Then you must go, tonight. She moved quickly, clever and sure. She let him down through the window, into the shadows of the city. In his place, she laid an idol in the bed, covered it with goat's hair and blankets, and when Saul's men came knocking. "He is ill," she said. They reported back. But Saul was no fool. "Bring him to me in his bed," he growled. When they returned, pulled back the covers, and found the ruse, Saul's fury exploded. He turned on Michal, voice shaking. "Why have you deceived me?" Michal swallowed her fear. "He said he would kill me if I did not. It was a lie. But it was a good one." Meanwhile, David ran to Ramah, where Samuel the prophet still dwelled. The old man listened quietly as David poured out the truth, Saul's jealousy, the threats, the spear, the madness. Samuel sighed, eyes sorrowful. "The spirit has left him, David. It is upon you now." David bowed his head. He had never asked for this. But Saul was not finished. He sent men to seize David even in Ramah. But when they arrived, the Spirit of God fell upon them, and they prophesied. Saul sent another group, same fate. Then a third, and they too were overwhelmed. At last, Saul came himself, furious, intent. But when he crossed into Ramah, the Spirit seized him. The king, the once mighty warrior, fell to the ground and stripped off his robes. He lay there all day and night, speaking words not his own, driven low by the very power he once carried. David watched from a distance. Even now, it broke his heart. He loved Saul. He had served him with all he had. He had married into his house. He had sung away his torments. But now, he was the enemy. David turned and left, his cloak wrapped tight around him. He moved through the wilderness like smoke, barely seen, never caught. Alone, hunted, yet not without hope. He went to Jonathan. The two met in secret, beneath the branches of a lonely field. Jonathan's face was pale with worry. "My father doesn't wish you harm," he said. David gave a bitter laugh. "Then why does he throw spears?" Jonathan hesitated. "Let me test him. Come to the feast tomorrow. If he is calm, you are safe. If he burns in anger, then we will know." David agreed. But Jonathan knew. Deep down, he already knew. The feast began. Saul sat in his place, his face stern, eyes flicking to the empty seat beside him. "Where is the son of Jesse?" he asked, voice low. Jonathan swallowed. "He asked leave of me, to visit his family in Bethlehem." Saul's fist struck the table. "You son of a perverse woman," he shouted. "Don't you see? As long as he lives, your kingdom will never come." He held the spear again, but this time at Jonathan. The prince rose in fury. His face was pale. His heart was breaking. That night, he met David in the field again. They embraced, tears running freely. Jonathan pressed a hand to David's shoulder. "Go in peace. The Lord is between you and me, forever." And David fled into the wilderness. The caves of Adullam became his refuge. Cold, dark, wet, they echoed with silence and fear. But others came to him. Not kings. Not soldiers. Outcasts. Everyone who was in distress, in debt, discontented, the scroll would later say, they came to David. He became their captain. 400 misfits. 400 men who had nothing left to lose. They followed the shepherd. They followed the boy who had faced a giant. Saul pursued him endlessly. Across hills, through valleys, from cave to cave. The king's robes grew tattered. His eyes wild. He even ordered the death of priests, because they had unknowingly helped David. 85 were slain in cold blood at Nob. The land wept. And David wept too. He cried out to God in the dark, "Why do you hide your face? How long, O Lord?" But always, he kept moving. He spared Saul's life twice. Once in a cave, when Saul entered to relieve himself. David crept up, blade in hand, and only cut a corner of his robe. "My father," he called after. "Why do you hunt me like a dog?" And Saul wept, and said, "You are more righteous than I." But the madness returned. The second time, David snuck into Saul's camp by night. The king lay sleeping, his spear at his head. David's men whispered, "Strike now. End this." But David shook his head. "I will not touch the Lord's anointed." He took the spear and water jug instead. And again, he cried out from the hilltop, "See, I could have killed you." And again, Saul wept. And again, it changed nothing. The wilderness was no longer a place of refuge. It was becoming a way of life. David led his men like a shepherd still, though no flock grazed behind him. Every day he woke not knowing if it would be his last. Every night he listened for Saul's soldiers creeping through the brush. And yet, he did not grow bitter. He wrote psalms beneath the stars. His harp sang songs of despair, yes, but also of trust. Of God's steadfast love. Of hope clinging to life by a thread. He led with mercy, even in hunger. When Nabal, a wealthy man, refused to give David's hungry men bread, David burned with wrath. "Strap on your swords," he told his men. But Abigail, Nabal's wife, came swiftly. Beautiful, wise, bold. "Do not stain your hands with blood," she said gently. "The Lord will establish your house." David stopped. Breathed. Listened. "Blessed be your wisdom," he told her, lowering his sword. "And blessed be you." Days later, Nabal was dead. And David took Abigail as his wife. Still, the days grew darker. News reached David that the Philistines were gathering again. Saul, desperate to know what awaited him, sought a medium, something God had forbidden. He disguised himself and asked for the spirit of Samuel. And the prophet came. Cold and distant. "Why have you disturbed me?" Samuel said. "I am afraid," Saul whispered. "God does not answer me." Samuel's voice was heavy. "Because you did not obey. The kingdom has been torn from your hands. Tomorrow, you and your sons will die." Saul stumbled back, pale as death. And the next day, it came to pass. On Mount Gilboa, the Philistines surged like a tide. Jonathan fought with honor. Saul's sons fell. And finally, wounded and weary, Saul leaned on his sword. "Fall upon me," he begged his armor-bearer. But the man refused. So Saul took his own life. The king of Israel, mighty, tragic, broken, died alone on the battlefield. David did not rejoice. When word reached him, he tore his robes. He wept long and loud, face to the dirt. "Your glory, O Israel, is slain on your high places," he cried. "How the mighty have fallen." He wept not only for Jonathan, his beloved brother, but for Saul too. The man who had haunted him. The man he had refused to hate. Then, at last, the road was clear. The people of Judah crowned David king. He ruled first in Hebron for 7 years. Then the tribes gathered, united at last. They anointed David king over all Israel. He was 30 years old. And the shepherd boy who once sang to sheep now sat on a throne. But David did not forget who he was, or who God had been. He brought the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem, dancing before it with all his might, robes flying, joy unrestrained. A king, yes, but a worshipper first. His enemies fell. His borders expanded. His name was sung across the land. And yet, even great men stumble. Even kings bleed. Then let us press forward. David, the king anointed by God, had conquered every enemy from without. But the fiercest battles were yet to come, from within his own heart, his own house. The harp once strummed in worship would fall silent. The man after God's heart would stumble, and the world around him would shake. This is not the tale of a perfect man. This is the tale of a broken one, upheld by grace. Time passed. The crown no longer felt heavy on David's head. His enemies were defeated. His name was revered. Jerusalem was his city. The Ark of God had found its home. His palace stood in stone and cedar. And one spring, when kings went out to war, David stayed behind. It began with a glance. A rooftop. A woman bathing. Beautiful. David leaned against the stone ledge, eyes fixed. "Who is she?" he asked a servant. The man answered carefully, hesitantly. "That is Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah the Hittite." "A wife?" David's jaw tightened. "Bring her to me." She came. And the silence that followed was heavy. She returned to her home. Weeks passed. Then the message came. Just 2 words. "I am pregnant." David's heart pounded. He paced. Thought. Schemed. Uriah. He was away, fighting in the king's army. If he came home, if he lay with his wife, no one would know. David summoned him. "Go to your house," David said warmly. "Rest. Enjoy your wife." But Uriah refused. "The ark and Israel dwell in tents," he said. "How can I go home, when my brothers sleep on the ground?" "Oh, no, boy Uriah." David's smile twisted. The next night, he made Uriah drunk, hoping he would stagger home. Still, Uriah slept at the palace gate. And David knew it would not be hidden. So he wrote a letter, folded it, sealed it with his own hand. He gave it to Uriah to carry back to Joab, the commander. The letter read, "Place Uriah in the front, then pull back. Let him fall." Uriah never read the words he carried. He died days later, struck by arrows, abandoned on the wall of Rabbah. Bathsheba mourned. David brought her into his house. She became his wife. And a son was born. But the thing David had done displeased the Lord. God sent Nathan, the prophet. And Nathan came with a story. There were 2 men in a city, he said. One rich, one poor. The rich man had flocks beyond number. The poor man had only 1 lamb, which he raised like a daughter. But when the rich man had a guest, he took the poor man's lamb and slaughtered it. David's rage kindled. "That man deserves to die." Nathan's eyes blazed. "You are that man." Silence. Crushing silence. David crumbled. His knees hit the floor. His voice shook. "I have sinned against the Lord." And Nathan said, "The Lord has put away your sin. You shall not die. But the child will not live." David wept. He fasted. Prayed. Laid face down on the floor. But on the 7th day, the child died. David rose. Washed. Worshipped. His servants were stunned. "I fasted while he lived," David said. "But now he is gone. I will go to him, but he will not return to me." And God, in mercy, gave him another son. He named him Solomon. And the Lord loved him. But the sword had not departed from David's house. Years passed, and the storm David had sown began to reap its harvest. His son Amnon defiled his half-sister Tamar. David was furious, but he did nothing. And Tamar's full brother, Absalom, waited. And then he struck. He killed Amnon and fled. David wept again. Another son, lost. But after 3 years, Absalom returned. He stood at the gates, spoke sweet words to the people, won their hearts. And one day, he declared himself king. David fled Jerusalem barefoot, head bowed. Again, the shepherd king who had escaped Saul now escaped his own son. He wept on the Mount of Olives. He wept in the wilderness. But not alone. Loyal men stood beside him. Even priests. Even the aged Ittai the Gittite. David watched as the ark was carried behind him. "Take it back," he said. "If I find favor again, the Lord will bring me home." War broke out. Father against son. David's heart bled. "Deal gently with the boy Absalom, for my sake," he pleaded with his commanders. But in the forest of Ephraim, Absalom died, caught by his hair in the branches of a tree, pierced by Joab's spear. When word reached David, he shook with grief. He climbed to the chamber above the gate and cried, "Oh, my son Absalom! My son Absalom! Would I had died instead of you!" His cry echoed through the stones. It was the deepest agony he had ever known. Time healed. Not fully, but enough. David returned to Jerusalem, older, quieter. The crown was his again. But something in him had changed. He knew now that even kings must be humbled. He knew the weight of sin, the ache of loss, the mercy of God. He ruled for 40 years. And as he neared death, he called Solomon to his side. "Be strong," he said. "Keep the commandments. Walk in his ways." He gave him the plans for the temple, the gold, the timber, the vision. And then he died, full of days. A warrior, a poet, a shepherd, a king, a man after God's own heart. Not perfect, but faithful. Broken, but beloved. And so the story of David was never just about kingship or battle or triumph. It was about a heart at rest in God. A heart that listened. A heart that waited. As you rest now, feel the quiet hills of Bethlehem in your breath. Let the gentle rhythm of David's songs lull you like sheep in green pastures. Let the peaceful silence that shaped a king fill your room like a hush at twilight. In stillness, we hear. In stillness, we find strength. In stillness, we are known. And now, like David beneath the stars, let your heart grow quiet. The night is long and gentle. Sleep comes, soft as psalms.